You're like 0 from 8 from the questions so far this season.
Yeah, well,
you might get this one because it's partly your team related. So
okay, mate.
Yeah.
I won't hold my breath, but I'll give it a go.
Okay.
We are going to be talking game week 8 this week. A nice little preview, help you get your teams set up ready for the Saturday deadline, or is it a Friday deadline again this week?
Yeah, Saturday 12:30 kickoff, so 11 o'clock deadline.
Yep. So the back to normal in many respects for where the deadlines are concerned. Do you know what? It's times like that I really miss that Soccer AM isn't on TV anymore. I absolutely loved getting up in the mornings, watching Soccer AM and tinkering my team right before 11 o'clock. Anyway, I digress. We are going to kick off things with doing the fixture difficulty rating, going through like the teams that people should be targeting, looking at players that are going to be facing potentially the worst defenses, and giving you a little bit of a rundown on the teams that have got the best attacks, and again those attacking assets that are going to be worth having in your teams. And then we'll round out with team reveals from all three of us, captain picks, transfers, that malarkey. The same sort of format, but this time it's live and in real time. So if we muck it up, there's no coming back from it. Really, I can't snip in the edit this time. So yeah, let's crack on. Let's get into it, and we'll have a little chat. I'm just going to share the slides that you've done here for us, Paul, and hopefully everything comes up and people can see what we're seeing. So as we mentioned, we're kicking off with a discussion around the fixture difficulty rating, and we've got some data there on the teams that are best at attacking and the teams that are best at defending, and also the worst as well. So yeah, let's have a little conversation around who people should be looking at for game week 8. I guess obviously the obvious thing to point out there that City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, all amongst the goals in the first 7 weeks. If you haven't got attacking assets from those sides right now, then maybe it's definitely worth looking at them. I think we've all got Haaland in our teams, boys.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say most people should have Haaland in their team at this point.
Yep. Are there any kind of City differentials that maybe people could consider if they either don't have Haaland or maybe they want to double up with City?
Well, Paul mentioned before we started recording that Haaland's got 60% of the goals that City have scored already this season. The other City players have got one each. We're trying to rattle off who we can remember scored. I know Foden's got one. Remember Reinders scored an opening day. I don't recall many others.
Yeah, I think the difficulty is obviously again always that pep roulette that you've got to contend with. They're attacking players on their day. The Foden and Doku look like they're fairly solid. Obviously, with Marmoush injured as well, obviously helps them for their minutes. So I think they could be good assets to look at. But again, will they be subbed early for the likes of Bernardo Silva, etc.? So again, when you're looking at attacking players, you always want to try and get those 90-minute men. Which is the risk
for me,
City.
City it's Haaland, isn't it? And then you're probably looking at the back line. Maybe looking at Donnarumma, Vardiol. They seem to be the most nailed three in that City lineup if you want security of minutes.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point.
I think the interesting stat that's come up on that graphic there is expected goals, with Manchester United being top of that chart. Also tied with Crystal Palace for most shots on target as well. But obviously, as we're seeing that they're not necessarily putting the ball in the back of the net and getting the results.
United at the top of the expected goals. Yeah, I think they're sort of 17th, 18th for goals conceded too. Expected goals conceded. So they're leading the way in both charts. I mean, we touched on them briefly last week about if they could find the net, they'd be having a pretty decent season. So I guess the Amarin beaters. I don't know. You watch United; they're very sort of hit and miss, aren't they? Like we've described before. Their performance is very sort of in and out, and the stats really do tell you that.
They're just very gung ho. So they've scored 7 goals with that 14 xG.
Wow.
And Bruno, Cunha, and Mbuemo are the biggest underperformers on the individual xG.
I suppose you've got to factor in 2 missed penalties on that, because that'd be quite a high xG against, wouldn't it? So
that's a really good point.
Factor in that, but
Yeah,
still, 14 expected goals for only seven returns is pretty poor.
Yeah, I think maybe trying to understand what an expected goal would be for a penalty. I think you mentioned before it's like 0.8 or something.
0.8 is a penalty.
Yeah. So that's even if you were to remove the 1.6 off of that, they're still in double figures for expected goals, and obviously that they're not near that.
Do you know what United need to solve this? They probably need about a £200 million strike force to help them put the ball in the net.
If only, right?
Yeah.
They've got bigger problems, I think, than just the strike force, unfortunately. The other attacking stats there, Scott, Palace obviously are quite high, particularly obviously on the big chances. So they, 5 more than City in second. But again, you're one of the biggest underperformers in converting those big chances. So 8 of the 26 big chances you've converted, and Mateta has 7 by himself.
Yep.
Is that a concern for you, or do you think that's there's a positive side to that?
Well, we took Liverpool to task for a half and a half, and I think Mateta drummed up 4 misses in that first half against Liverpool alone, and then last week against Everton, the same story. First half absolutely dominated them, and I think he missed 3. Between him and Sarr, I think he missed 12 big chances or something like that in the first 7 weeks. It depends what way you want to look at it. Creating chances is always difficult in the Premier League, so that's a good positive sign for them. But in the Everton game, Everton started to grow in the second half, and you could see they were going to nick it. So those missed chances come back to bite you. Every team in the Premier League can score against you, even the weakest teams. You got to put the chances when they come. You can't keep missing them. So yeah, keep creating them, but we got to stick in more than we have been. Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. I think there's definitely other teams there that you could say that are very much overperforming their statistics as well, particularly where the likes of City are concerned as well. Going back to them, like their big chances, 21 big chances, 15 of them are converted. Yeah, I don't think I've rarely seen a team that's converted as many big chances as that in terms of ratios, and Arsenal as well. 19 big chances created and 14 of them converted as well. So,
well, the City stats are all down to one man, aren't they? He's a machine.
Yeah.
His individual stats are crazy. I read the stat that he has scored more on his own this season than 11 teams total.
Did see that
already, which is crazy. And I think he has the XG higher than 13 teams just on his own.
Wow. Yeah, he's having a crazy season. And I think where people were expecting Salah to continue doing what he did last year, I think Haaland's almost kind of taken up that mantle a little bit.
Well, you look at Haaland across his whole career. This is what he's done. He's got a goal a game. He scored again. Was it a hat trick for Norway? And he missed 2 penalties in that game.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy is a freak of nature. He probably is the best striker in European football. He's certainly the best finisher, I think. in European football. I mean, he's just unique, isn't he? The way he's built, the way he's quick, he's got everything. 2 feet, good in the air. The goal against Brentford last week, where he just bullied the centre half, just knocked him for 6. You know, he's got everything. This guy, he's almost unstoppable, almost unplayable. And City of all their talented players that can supply him. There's no surprise really that his individual stats are that high, and City's as a combination of that high.
Yeah, I will probably just say that I think he does have a contender for best finisher in Europe, or best goal scorer in Europe. Obviously, Harry Kane at Bayern Munich's putting up some big numbers as well, for both club and country. But you're right. I think when it comes to the Premier League, and you know, if we're going to continue this narrative that the Premier League is the best league in the world, and you know, any given weekend, you know, City realistically they could be beaten by any other team in the league, which is obviously not true for the Bundesliga, or certainly not true for Bayern Munich anyway. That, you know, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think to be able to witness what he's doing in the Premier League on a consistent basis is something special. And yeah, long may it continue. Looking then at the defensive stats, again, you know, some really obvious names and teams in there with West Ham.
Plenty of red flags there, mate.
Yeah. West Ham conceding 16 goals, Burnley 15, Wolves 14. No surprise to see them struggling at the bottom end of the Premier League table as well as a result. But Paul, you had an interesting stat on Burnley's 15 goals conceded.
Yeah, 13 of them have been in away games.
So they're quite a bit stronger at home, it seems.
They've been stronger at home. Their next 3 away games are Wolves, West Ham, and Brentford.
Interesting.
So 2 of them obviously have pretty drippy defences as well. So there could be some points to be had in an FPL sense.
Are you surprised at those stats, Paul? Considering Burnley came up with such a strong record from last season.
I guess not really, not really, but and it is always difficult to travel away. I think you underestimate how hard it is to go to these away grounds as teams, and that's why, you know, when you get these big results away, it's such an important thing for your season. But yeah, I guess it's worrying because they're, you know, they're, you know, in the top 3 for all 4 of those defensive stats there, which is not good signs long term for their survival. So
you telling me I've got double Burnley defence? You telling me that's not a good move?
It might be good from a DEFCON perspective, mate.
Well, I've got East Eve and Dubravka up against Leeds this week. I'm quite set on it. I think Leeds, although they've done well, have been a little bit blunt going forward. So I quite fancy Burnley, and they're at home. So your stats, I'm relying on your stats to be true and solid, and they come away with a cleano.
Yeah, I was going to say double Burnley defence. You better hope that it's a home game, and it just so happens that it is. So you might be okay. Although I am going to say that I was about this close to putting Dominic Calvert-Lewin in my squad this week. So I feel like he's due a little bit of a haul, and going against Burnley felt like it was a good opportunity, but I chickened out of it in the end.
I don't think you can jinx Kane, to be honest, mate. DCL's had 3 90 minutes under his belt in a row. Knowing you'd put him in and it'd
break after 5 minutes.
Snap an ankle ligament or something.
I mean, it worked for Bruno G, right? I've had him in my squad for 3 weeks, and he hauled big time last week. So I'll take
maybe
that.
You're a good luck charm. Maybe we got it all wrong.
Yeah,
put him in, mate. And then obviously again, Forest as well, and obviously they haven't had the new manager bounce with Ange going in there, but again they've conceded 10 goals in the last 5 games, and again the Forest from last season, where has that gone?
Well, I'd beg to differ, Paul. I think they have had the new manager bounce because their defence is now shocking.
Oh, that's poor on that. That's poor Ange. Poor Ange.
That's what he's renowned for, though, isn't he?
So we are, mate.
So we are. Yeah.
So the Ange ball is in full effect at Forest, and it's just a case of they need to put the ball in the back of the net to balance it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's a weird one at Forest, isn't it? Because they've got a team that Nuno put together that was defence first, and they've gone completely the other end of the spectrum and hiring Ange. It's not necessarily his fault, but that is his style of play, and they unfortunately haven't got the players to play that way. And those stats don't lie. Although I will say that their defensive stats were on the slide towards the back end of last season, as we've mentioned before, and they just carried on at the start of this. But to be in those measures there, 3 out of the 4 measures, does show you that Ange being on board is not working from a defensive point of view.
No, for sure. So, again, those are probably the 3 teams to target in Burnley, Forest, and West Ham. If you're looking at teams to be.
But so on the flip side, then Nuno going to West Ham, Paul. It's only been in charge for 2 games. They looked more solid against Everton in their last game. Do you expect to see a management bounce from them? Because Nuno is a good defensive coach and will get them set up nice and solid.
Yes, I think they have the team to do that. He has the foundations of a good defensive team. The likes of Souček, who loves a rough and tumble. Kilman at centre back as well, loves to put himself about. So yeah, they have all the attributes, and let's be fair, that their best years have been when they have been defensively sound and played on the counter attack. So I would expect Nuno will try and play a similar way to kind of what Moyes had them playing.
I think that was the great irony, wasn't it? That West Ham fans kind of just got a little bit exacerbated with the way that Moyes was setting West Ham up, despite winning a European Cup and despite getting them to finish, what was it, 9th or 8th in his final season, something like that.
Well, if you remember on the back of that, you done them to finish in 6th, remember?
Right, because they had a really strong transfer window in the summer afterwards.
Yeah.
And then they go and sack him. They go for a rotation of managers, and they've ended up with someone that plays Moyes ball.
That's
so
right.
it's one of the great ironies, I think, at West Ham right now. I hope it works out for Nuno. I hope that my prediction at the beginning of the season to have them relegated is proven wrong. I think there's a lot of decent players in that West Ham side. They certainly deserve a lot better. But as we all know, it's a results business, right?
It certainly is. I mean, for West Ham, I think their backline's pretty solid. It always concerns me that the lads in front of them, zero pace. I mean, you mentioned Souček. He's a good, honest pro, but he's got no pace, no legs. They tend to play Ward-Prowse alongside. Again, no legs. That's the area. Very similar to Man United, I guess. That's the area that teams target them. And the fact that they've got a rotation of goalkeepers that can't deal with crosses. So, but that's the area I think Nuno will tighten up. He'll get them defensively quite solid. They'll sit in, they'll try and play on the counter. And hopefully they'll benefit the likes of Juve pushing up wide, Bowen, release them a bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so a combination of the attacking and the defensive stats, and then looking at the fixture difficulty rating. Is there a team there that's potentially flying under the radar for you guys in terms of
I think
FPL assets?
If you know Arsenal, I mean, we have never spoken about Brighton assets before. They're second there on the ticker. They've got some lovely run of fixtures there. The issue with Brighton is who do you go for? Because Hurst is worse than Pep for his rotation.
He loves to rotate as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, and he tends to deflect in the media as well. So if there's a slight doubt about somebody, he'll tend to say they're okay, and then they don't show up for 3 weeks. He's a bit coy, isn't he, in the press? So it's very hard to nail down a Brighton asset. But if you could, those fixtures, and Brighton do have some very good players as well. Brighton would be the team that I think are probably flying under the radar the most.
I did see a clip with, I think it might have been Welbeck's second goal against Chelsea. It was actually highlighting Yakuba Minte's closing down. Really, really impressive, actually, to be that deep in the game as well, and still have the legs to put the press on that high up of the pitch as well. And Minter always seems kind of in the periphery as a player that tends to be involved like in goals, whether it's like through assists, he might be scoring them himself, or certainly getting the having his best attempt at getting DEFCON points anyway.
Well, he's the asset. I guess you'd pick out of all of them. It's just a case of does he hold his place in the team regularly? I mean, of late he has, but there's no assurances that he'll carry on keeping his starting place. Because in season goes by, you probably pick Matoma as the highlight for that Brighton team, but he's been in and out of the side as well recently. And I know you were quite sweet on Ruta at the start.
I was,
and he again's been in and out despite playing pretty well when I've seen him. So yeah, it's a tricky one at Brighton.
Yeah. I think Danny Welbeck's done a good job to re-establish himself in that starting lineup. To be fair, because before that, I felt genuinely the rumours of Ruta as the starting number 9 after Pedro leaving was really well founded. But I think Danny's done really, really well to re-establish himself as the number 1 striker there.
Yeah, he's played well, hasn't he?
He has put himself about for sure. The other one I would mention is Van Hecker in defence. Again, fairly reliable from a DEFCON perspective. Also likes to get forward. I think he's got a goal in him from a set piece. But then on the flip side, he does love a yellow card.
Mm-hmm.
So you do I guess run the gauntlet by having him in your team. But I think again he's a 90-minute man, a reliable asset. But yeah, I think Minte is probably the best attacking asset from a Brighton's perspective.
Aren't Brighton one of 3 teams to not keep a clean sheet this season?
I would guess you're probably correct. I don't know that for certain.
I know they haven't. I just don't know if they're one of 3.
He's doing that thing where he's asking a question he already knows the answer to.
No, I should have reworded it. I know they haven't kept a clean sheet. I was just doubting whether they were one of 3 teams that haven't.
Okay, fair.
Sorry.
Okay, so takeaways from that then. Arsenal and City assets, attack and defense you should be looking at them in a balanced manner. And Brighton assets are potentially ones that are running under the radar with regards to fixture difficulty.
And then for me, attacking wise, Chelsea with their nice run of fixtures.
So Forest and Sunderland up next, and then Spurs is probably a game where you would expect Chelsea to score 2, and then Wolves and Burnley. It's a nice little run, isn't it?
It is a nice little run up until having Arsenal in game week 13. So
yeah. I'm sure we'll get into Chelsea assets in a second, because I think there is a certain Chelsea midfielder that is going to be part of that conversation, I imagine. So we've got DEFCON stats for the individuals here. This is something that we did look at in the previous episode as well, but we just want to kind of reiterate the players that we should definitely be looking at, just with regards to how often they are collecting those DEFCON stats. Obviously, game week 7 represented the first time that Senesi failed to get the bonus 2 points. But as you can see from there, from that sheet there, Senesi, Anderson, Tarkowski, Virgil, Chris Richards, they're all players that some of us may have, but all of us certainly will only really have a combination of 1 or 2. In fact, actually looking at the ownership stats, Anderson at Fulham there is only owned by 4.1% of players in the game, which is quite surprising, particularly at 4.5 million price point as well. So potentially a hidden gem there. And then likewise for midfielders, Caicedo, Anderson, Xhaka, Cullen, Adams, even going down to Ghana at Everton, regular DEFCON contributors getting those bonus points, but looking at those ownership stats, I mean, apart from Caicedo, nobody goes over 4%, which is interesting. People still preferring players like Njai and Bruno Fernandes in terms of ownership.
Yeah, the midfield DEFCONs are a hard one to equate. I think we're quite happy with the defensive for defenders now, aren't we? That the centre halves are probably the way to go. But those midfield assets are tricky because they are budget enablers by trade. Needing the 12 DEFCONs to hit your budget is harder, obviously, than hitting the 10. And it's what else they can offer. So I mean, Caicedo's hit a few thunder bastards this season already to boost his points total, but out of the rest of them, they're not really regular point scorers outside of the DEFCONs they're offering. So it's hard to sort of equate their value. And just quickly going back on the Senesi one, not hitting the DEFCONs last week against Fulham, who played with no strikers. Both the top line strikers, Raul and Muniz were out. So and Bournemouth won the game pretty comfortably. So I'm assuming that had something to do with it. They didn't do a lot of defending in that game.
No, that's a fair point.
I think again for the midfielders, it's I think they're the type of players you target for your fifth, for your potential bench warmer,
your bench boost player,
for sure. Because again, it adds a little bit of value. It's not taking up any of your budget, and you're getting some upside.
But there's loads of midfield options, aren't there, Paul? And people are getting quite frustrated with the striker options. So these budget enablers in midfield probably had their moment for the time being, and people are having a budget striker instead as your eighth attacker.
Yeah, I think people are obviously, again, the only striker that is getting any returns currently is or regular returns, we should say, is Haaland. I don't think any other striker's got more than 3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So people are losing faith and putting more budget into their midfield to try and get the attacking returns there, which I think makes sense. But with the fixture swings, I think it might be a little bit too early to jump off all the premium strikers, in my opinion.
Sure. Just you wait until you see my game week 18. Is all I'm gonna say.
Darren's on his in reverse.
Premium striker.
Interesting graphic there by FPL Tom Hadley. Scott, do you understand what this is showing us a bit more? Because I've got the best opponents and the position to play versus them, but I'm not really kind of picking up what the position is. Is it literally like, because we've got CB versus Bournemouth, does that mean centre back versus Bournemouth?
Yeah, it's basically which teams, so which players get DEFCON more regularly, and the percentage of how likely they are to get it. And then the one on the right is the best opponents against. So Bournemouth give up more DEFCONs because they attack you. So Liverpool's all the best attacking sides should be in that list, I would imagine.
Right. So they're suggesting that defensive assets from Palace would be good for game week 8 because Bournemouth give up more contributions to the opposite team.
Yeah, so their style of play suits the DEFCON for the opposition. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, cool. I guess looking back at this list here, obviously Richardson and I always butcher his name, Lacroix or Lacroix.
Lacroix is correct.
For Palace, I mean it's a handy double up if you were, I don't know, free hitting or wild carding or maybe even bench boosting this week.
Yeah, probably to be destroyed by Semenyo though at some point during that game.
It's a very good point as well.
Yeah, it's a rough idea. I mean, again, we're only 7 weeks in. It depends on how much credence you put on 7 weeks worth of data. I'd like to give it 10 weeks before we have a solid look at it. But I guess this gives you a flavour of the way things are heading. No real surprise there that Liverpool Bournemouth, the 1 and 2. They were the opening game of the season, if you remember. It was a game of basketball, wasn't it? End to end, end to end.
Yeah, that's true.
There were something like eight players on the pitch picked up DEFCONs in that game, and we thought, well, this is the way it's going to go. It's going to be, the 2 points handed out like Christmas presents. Not so, because there are teams that aren't on that list that don't offer a huge amount of value against teams like West Ham. Have hardly given up any DEFCON against the opposition. So it's an interesting style. I wouldn't base a lot of your transfer thoughts on this. It's just nice to see who is where and what it all means, I guess.
Fair. So, but I think this is probably played out how we thought that it might, though, right? That the players that are picking up the DEFCON more regularly are playing teams that are more expressive in the attacking areas, right? So if you're a team facing City, it makes sense that if you're aiming for budget enablers or defenders to get DEFCON, then you want your defenders to face City, which, in previous years, we would never have had a defender in our first 11 or a midfielder in our first 11 facing City, because there was no other additional benefit to having them in there other than the fact that they may get a clean sheet, or they might get an assist, or they might get a goal. Whereas this actually gives a bit more of a solid, like, they almost certainly will get 2 bonus points. And then if they're playing the whole game, that's another 2 points. So it's almost like a 4-point guaranteed haul, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where the value comes in. That's why there's so many £4 million defenders in people's teams, because those teams that are slightly weaker tend to do more defending. So it goes hand in hand that those budget-enabled defenders will pick up the DEFCONs at a regular pace. I just that might offset the DEFCON points, because obviously conceding goals is still a metric that we want to be looking at.
Yeah,
yeah. I think to put it out there, clean sheets is still the most important FPL stat to be worrying about for defenders. And I think this DEFCON points have just added that extra incentive within your team to then be able to use your budget more freely.
So I think, like, we worked out the other week as well that DEFCON and a clean sheet is equivalent to a defender scoring a goal, isn't it? So it's just that extra. It's the extra kind of boost up there, and equally as well, if you're not getting clean sheets but you're regularly getting DEFCON, so if you're getting the 2 bonus points 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in a row, it's the equivalent to your centre back having 2 or 3 assists to their name. And again, if the centre back was doing that on a regular basis anyway, you'd absolutely have them in your team regardless of the bonus points, right?
Yeah, I think your point, if you're playing Man City, you don't mind playing them, is correct. Whereas the season's gone by, you would have benched these players or even sold them up against City, knowing that all you're going to get is a battering and nothing positive. So yeah, it's opened the door for that sort of player. You can, like I said, I got double Burnley because I fancied them to be good in the DEFCON situation, doing lots of defending. So yeah, it opens up more opportunity for these players, and I think, as we've discussed before, it's a very interesting and a long overdue welcome addition to the game.
Yeah, no, for sure. Before we chat about Arsenal, Paul, and their elite defense, obviously you can see there the Gabriel, Timber, and Calafiori all raking the points in as defenders. Just want to shout out anybody that's watching right now to like, subscribe to the channel. If you could also share the stream across your personal socials as well. That would be really, really helpful. We want to grow the channel as much as we can across this season, and we can't do it without your help. And I'll also put out there as well, if anybody is watching and wants to put into the comments any questions about their Game Week 8 team, we do have amongst us a very prestigious global elite of FPL players that will quite happily tear your teams apart or give you advice that will allow you to top your mini leagues. So yeah, please do get some questions in the live chat about your prospective teams for game week 8, and we'll get them answered during the live stream. Thanks for that little interlude, Paul. Let's press play on waxing lyrical about that Arsenal defense.
Oof, don't get me started. Yeah, I think again, if you're wildcarding or at all, or looking at what defenders to get into your squad, you have to have at least one Arsenal defender. I think as almost a guarantee, because as you looked at the defensive stats in the previous slide, we are top on all of them. And yeah, we have 3 of the top 5 defenders in FPL points so far this season. And yeah, we're goal threats as well as clean sheets as well, which is a nicety to have. And I think as the positive with Arsenal is that back 4 is fairly settled. I don't envision any massive rotation in the coming weeks, saying that we do have some Champions League games. So there is obviously always a possibility, but I don't expect it. So yeah, I definitely would be looking at the likes of Gabriel, Timber, and even Raya if you're looking at defensive changes in the upcoming week.
Out of those back 4, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori as your starting back 4. Out of those 4, which one is more at risk at rotation if it happens?
More at risk, I think probably I would say Timber, just purely based on the amount of work he gets in down the right hand side, attacking wise, and then again he's very mobile and press stylistically. It must take a lot out of you. But saying that, Ben White is still slowly taking his time getting back into fitness, so he might not be 100% ready. And then yeah, it'd be between the 2 wing backs for me. So it'd be either him or Calafiori again.
Lewis Kelly's good to go, right? He played most of last season.
Good to go. He's a different type of player, so I think his might be more of a game state kind of substitution, or depending on who we're playing, that he might come in rather than a fitness stylistic rotation.
And we saw Mosquera come in and deputise brilliantly for Saliba when he picked up that slight injury. Any sort of concern that the heel might come in for the odd game to replace one of those 2?
Again, definitely. There's a definite possibility with Champions League football that they may play for the Champions League and then Mosquera may come in for one of the weekend games. It is a possibility, but I wouldn't be put off by bringing in Arsenal assets because of that.
My assumption would be that if Gabriel and Saliba are fit, they're going to be playing every game possible, right? I think that the likes of Mosquera and Lewis Skelly and things like that, they're great competition and great backups to have. I would assume that outside of the knockout phases of the Champions League, like when you're going away and playing teams like Basel and things like that, Mosquera would likely play that Champions League game.
Yeah, that's the other option, is that we rotate in the Champions League. On who we're playing,
and then FA Cup and League Cups and things like that. Like, yeah, but you're absolutely. But it's nice for to be in a position as an Arsenal fan. I'm sure that you now got competition across that back line as well, because previously you haven't had that, and you've had like maybe 1 or 2 really solid defenders, but as soon as they get injured, it all kind of fell apart. And now you've got rotation options available and strength in rotation as well. One player that I think is flying under the radar with regards to FPL though and this was highlighted in one of the FPL groups I'm in on Facebook. So they highlighted Gyökeres was only on 26 points, Saka was on 20 points, obviously with the injury in play there as well. Odegaard was on 22 points. Again, has had his share of injuries within the first 7 weeks. And Eze as well, only really kind of just establishing himself as a first team player at Arsenal. Again, I think he was on something like 20, 24 points. But there's a player that's basically fully established in the first team, has played every single game, is on set pieces, and is racking up a considerable amount of FPL points. And that's Declan Rice. 6.5 million. And flying definitely under the radar from an ownership perspective. Is he a realistic option going forward, do you think?
I think so. Playing in that number 8, and the fact that he's on set pieces, we know we spoke about it in the last episode, that Arsenal set piece kings. So he's definitely is an option for sure. I just think he's not the most attractive of picks.
I was just going to say, do you think there's a reason why he's not being picked up yet?
I think it's because people associate his defensive attributes with him in an FPL sense, and because he's not picking up those defensive, like DEFCON contributions, playing in that number 8, people maybe are not, especially people who don't watch football extensively, are not getting the eye test of Declan Rice. They're just going purely statistical sense. Then I think that's maybe why he's going under the radar.
Yeah. I guess obviously the worry is that once Odegaard comes back, that Rice drops deeper back in, drops deeper down the field, right? He won't be playing that number 8 role.
No, I think that's where I think he's established there now. I think obviously Odegaard's more seen as either. Well, for me, they're 2 secondary 8s, just stylistically different. I think he'll stay that role for the season. Every now and again, he'll drop deeper when Zubimendi either moves out, and maybe the likes of Marino go into that 8 role. But yeah, again, I think his minutes are pretty solid.
Yeah, fair enough. Scotty, any thoughts on Arsenal before we move on to team reveals?
Yeah, I think Rice goes under the radar because there's so many options at Arsenal. If you're tripling up and you're going double defence, so you go Raya and Gabriel, I think your third option you're looking at is probably Saka. If you're not looking at Saka, you're looking at Gyökeres. And Rice is probably your 5th choice. You got Eze in the mix as well, so maybe Rice is even 6th choice. I think that's probably the biggest reason why he's not being considered. Then at his 6.5 price tag as well, there's so many other options in other teams like Kudus and Njai and Ismail Assar. There's loads of options at that price. So loads of competition. I just think in Arsenal as well, he's probably 5th or 6th choice because there's so many options in that team.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair point. Okay, let's move on and get into. This the ones to watch for game week 8 before we do our team reveals. We've rightly highlighted Erling Haaland, obviously 11 goal involvements in the first 7 game weeks. Obviously, Antoine Semenyo has had probably one of the best starts to a new season that any FPL asset has had, particularly at that price range and playing for Bournemouth as well. 12 goal involvements for him now. Some interesting players highlighted there with their fixture comparison. So looking at João Pedro, Jared Bowen, Nick Voltemade, and Victor Gyökeres. I think we highlighted earlier in the episode that Chelsea run of fixtures is glorious, isn't it? But it's just whether or not we can trust João Pedro to put the ball in the back of the net, because he let us down a little bit in the first 7 weeks. And then we've got Enzo Fernandez, Ismail Assar, Antoine Semenyo, and Eze for the midfield as a comparison as well. Again, Bournemouth with a really nice run at 12, 13 and 14 with West Ham, Sunderland and Everton. And obviously, Enzo Fernandez at Chelsea with that run in as well. Thoughts on attacking assets? Let's not be boring and just go, and pick Haaland and Semenyo and Sarr. I think a lot of teams probably have those three players in their squads already. Is there anyone on this graphic that we haven't kind of delved into deeply enough, or are there anyone flying under the radar that maybe we should be highlighting at this moment in time?
Yeah, I'll shoot quickly. You're always looking for the next curve, the next player to get on early before they shoot, and everyone wants them. And I think that player could be Bowen. I think a lot of players are getting frustrated at the forward line not hitting, as we said. Outside of Haaland, which strikers firing? I mean, Voltemade's done well, but there's no one else really that's consistently putting that ball in the net. And if you think that the Nuno's going to get a tune out of West Ham, Bowen's going to be a beneficiary of that style of play, especially on the counter break. And those run of 4 fixtures he's got coming up now are pretty good. In fact, he'll probably go down to Bournemouth. So the next 5 fixtures for them, pretty tasty. He's at a price drop from 8 to 7.7. And surprise, I've replaced him, got rid of Watkins at long last. I've released him out of prison. In comes Bowen, because I think he could be the next player that lots of managers get behind, and hopefully I'm already on him and get that price increase when it happens.
Yeah, nice. Good run of fixtures there for him as from an attacking perspective as well, being against Brentford and Leeds. Are you worried about that Newcastle fixture though? Obviously, Newcastle being the second best defense in the league right now.
No, I mean Bowen he always flies under the radar, Bowen, because he's not very spectacular and he just doesn't haul very often. But he's consistent, super consistent, picking up those points. He's one of those players you have in your team. You haven't got to worry about him. He's a 90-minute man. He's good for goals and assists. He's obviously West Ham's best player. So if you do believe that Nuno is going to improve them, then surely that benefits him as well as the whole team as a whole.
Nice. Paul, any thoughts on some of the other assets that might be flying under the radar right now?
Again, probably not so much flying on the radar, but I think Enzo is again a great pick for the fixtures, playing in that number 10 role, obviously with Palmer out the side currently, and he's just thriving at the moment. And I think for the value for money at 6.7, I don't think you can go much wrong. Obviously, he'll probably be on penalties. He takes set pieces, and he's getting in the box. So five attacker returns so far this season. You can't really complain for that price tag.
No,
and that Palmer injury seems to be sort of rolling on.
I was just going to ask if we had any more on the Palmer injury.
Well, the latest that came out a few days ago was that that he's going to be given a bit more time.
It's
out
never
for
good,
about
though,
another.
right?
Sorry.
It's never good, especially when they're being so vague about it.
Well, I think
it's not a good sign, surely.
He's had this for like a while. So they referenced that he'd been carrying it the back end of last season. He's had it all through pre-season, through the Club World Cup. We're now 2 months into the season. He still has it. They come out and said that the Chelsea medical team said he doesn't require surgery. It's just rest that he needs. But Adam Wharton had a very similar issue last season, and I heard that it's very common that young players that play regularly to get this injury.
Yeah,
and it is just rest and recuperation that is the healer. I guess you can't put a time frame on that. He's almost good to go, which is I think the frustrating thing for him. He probably could play a game. He's not completely ruled out, but for him to be completely 100%, he needs to just step off it. So the window, the time frame is pretty much impossible to call.
Yeah, I think it's potentially symptomatic as well of a young player that kind of went from playing under 21s football at City for a long time to then just bam straight in and was basically playing every single game for Chelsea for the last 2 years, better part of 2.5 years. It's no wonder that his legs are being stretched a little bit and probably does need a little bit of a rest and recuperation. And I think actually that Club World Cup done him no favors either. Like, as much as he
need the summer off, right? If you're carrying an injury like that, why is he not given the rest?
Yeah, but then it's also that he ended up being the tournament, one of the tournament's best players as well, and that was potentially a 60-70% fit Cole Palmer, and he was absolutely having the best time of his life. So once he's 100% fit, I think a lot of people need to be quite wary of him as a danger going into.
I guess from his point of view, it's a World Cup year. I think it's a theme that's going to come back throughout this season, that the players looking to play in that World Cup have got to be ready, got to be fit and firing, but got to be playing. So he might be thinking, well, that now's a good time to get this issue sorted. So I'm fit and strong at the back end of the season and get myself booked on that plane, because if he's not playing, he doesn't go, because we are blessed in that role for England, and his place would be under threat if he's not playing.
Yeah, which hasn't, to be honest, that hasn't been a problem in the past, has it? Because we've seen some very odd England selections in the past of players that aren't playing first team football, but they just kind of seem to be first names on the team sheet. And I would like to think that Cole Palmer was that for England at the moment, even if he was, struggling for fitness throughout this season. You'd like to think that he would be still in that 22-man squad being on the plane, right?
Well, I guess it depends, right? If he doesn't play for the next, say he misses the whole season, he can't be on there. He can't go. Simple.
Yeah, fair. I just want to chat a little bit about Nick Voltemade as well.
You draft him in yet?
I haven't yet. No, I'm still hanging all my hopes on Bruno G.
So when you draft him in, are we going to not talk about him for 1 week?
Yes,
because that's when he starts to blank, right?
Exactly, of course.
Okay.
I think it's three goals in five. 3 goals in 4 starts, 5 appearances for Newcastle now. Tactically, seems to have changed the way that Newcastle are playing as well. Very different player to Isak in many ways. But yeah, Bruno seemed to benefit massively in the way that I felt like was going to happen as well. So got Bruno Guimaraes with the assist and with the goal, and Voltemade with the second for Newcastle.
Scored his first. Was it his first goal for Germany as well last week?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So he's in the German first team national team now.
Also, just shout out big Jean-Philippe scoring his first goal for France as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that an asset that's going under the radar from a strike partner's perspective? You've got like partners there for Haaland, I think, as a.
If he can convert his big chances, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, did you not see that stat?
For sure, he's definitely someone to consider. But yeah,
I think as well, Voltemade is definitely up there as a consideration. He's shown that he's able to put chances away, and again, very much in that Haaland mold of like he's a big, powerful boy. He bullies people off the ball, and that ball gets whipped into the box, and there's very, very few people are beating him to it right now. Anyway.
Yeah, especially with West Ham in game week 10, they're conceding set piece goals for fun. So unless your man Nuno can switch it around fairly quickly, then he could be a good asset to have for that week for sure.
Yeah, I think
if you're looking at Palace assets, well, if you're looking at Mateta, our run from game week 10, so just the other side of that Arsenal fixture, I think we're top of the fixture ticker from game week 10 to 15. So that'd probably be the time to get on to your Palace boys.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So probably Pedro, Enzo, Bowen in the run-up to that kind of game week 10, game week 11 switch. And then you might go Sarr, Mateta, start looking at bringing in Richards and Lacroix again as well, if you haven't got them already in that run.
Again, just quickly before we move on to our teams, I just wanted to point out, obviously, Eze has just a little bit of a differential to that Arsenal attack. Obviously, Odegaard is probably out for the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
So it would suggest that Eze has started there for the last 2 games in his role. So I would expect him to be that main guy in that number 10, number 8 role.
Is it him or Marino in Odegaard's absence? You think?
I think it would be Eze.
Yeah,
he's been there for the last two game weeks as a starter. Obviously, as the game progresses, he sometimes moves out to that left-hand side. But yeah, I think it might be a monitor for the coming couple of game weeks. But if he starts against Fulham, I would certainly be confident going ahead into those Burnley and Sunderland games.
I'll just say that Eze scored for England tonight.
Hey.
And Marino scored twice for Spain.
There we go. Some assets.
Just while we're talking about international break assets, obviously this is always a bit of a tricky time when it comes to planning transfers and bringing players in, because you never know if they're going to get injured on international duty. It appears that one such player has fallen foul of that. Jack is in our comments on the live stream right now, letting us know that Alderete has come off injured, playing for Paraguay. So I imagine he's probably quite high up on the transferred in list as well for the last couple of weeks.
He would be, yeah. If you wildcarded and you got a bench boost, he was very popular as your best boost asset, yeah, for sure.
Again, a bit of a DEFCON B so far this season, alongside Mukiele in that Sunderland defence. So,
well, look, this brings me on sweetly to my weekly question for you boys, right? It's international, but I know you chaps absolutely look forward to all week for this moment.
Yeah.
So it's an international question with a bit of Arsenal thrown in. We mentioned the England-Wales game, which England won 3-0. Which record, 86-year-old record, was broken that game?
I'll give you 30 seconds. Saka became the highest England goal scorer that plays for Arsenal.
See, I knew you'd get it this week. I'd make it as easy as possible. Mix England and Arsenal.
Smith Baston's record.
Yeah, 86-year-old record becoming top scorer for England as an Arsenal shirt. How many goals?
Oh God, that part I don't know.
He's got 13 in 45 appearances for England.
That's pretty good going, I would suggest.
Not bad. Not bad.
I would have thought though that in all of the football history, that a player playing for Arsenal would have had more than 13 goals for England.
Well, it's why it's an interesting stat. I don't just trawl the internet for uninteresting bits of data for you boys.
I think Ian Wright only had 9 England goals.
That's crazy.
Didn't get many caps, did he, Ian Wright?
No.
Obviously,
really.
Yeah, absolutely criminal. But we have to recognise that he came through at a time. There was Alan Shearer, Teddy Sheringham, Michael Owen.
There's a big queue in front of him.
Yeah,
Fowler,
Andy Cole, Robbie Fowler.
Yeah.
Fair. Because he would probably have been the Arsenal.
Got one right.
Woo! Hey. What's that? Was that 1 out of 8 now?
It doesn't matter, Darren. It doesn't matter.
1 from 8. He's got a better striking record than Ollie Watkins this season.
Let's not get caught up in the details. Let's just move on.
All right, let's go. Scott, I think it's your team first as we round out the episode. These are our game week 8 team reveals. Wait.
Briefly revealed.
Stuffed it, and 1 second.
It's all right.
Yeah, tell me about your.
Tell us about it while Darren fixes the technology.
Well, it's Watkins out at long last. I mean, I've been looking for a reason to remove him, and now is the right time. So he's gone. Goodbye. And Bowen has come in, as I've already mentioned. In doing so, it means I've got a bit of a benching problem. Same as last week. Who do you bench out of those attacking 8? Obviously, you're not benching Haaland. You can't bench Kudus on his great form and a good fixture against Villa. I guess you look at maybe Njai, but City, I think Everton can get at them, and him being on penalties is also in his favour. Gakpo to me is one player. We talk about players flying under the radar. I think Gakpo hugely underrated. Liverpool still the most potent attack in the league. Gakpo guaranteed start. You know, if you can't stretch the Salah and his bad form, Gakpo's got to be your next best option. So Reinders by default is my bench option. I mean, what do you think to that, Paul?
I wouldn't disagree with your logic. Reinders has not been pulling up any trees since the start, since the very first game.
But
really,
he comes so close. Didn't he? Last couple of weeks, he's come so close to returns.
He's been there or thereabouts for sure. I think he's still good value for money from an FPL sense. I certainly wouldn't be jumping off him if anyone's got him in their team.
Yeah,
but I do understand why you would possibly bench him. It's definitely between him and Jai for me from your team's perspective, just because City will have a lot of the ball in that game. So where has his opportunities come from? But there will be a moment, and if there is a moment, he certainly will be the likely player to be involved from an Everton perspective. So
I've seen City a few times this season, and as we know with them, they're very susceptible on the transition, and Everton have built a front four that are pretty decent. I mean, Grealish obviously can't play. You got GW8 in there, in Jai. So who comes in for Grealish? Do you think on that left side for Everton?
Good call. I'm trying to think who they've got.
Will Neil come in, you think, and maybe GW8 plays out there?
Quite possibly, yeah. That would make some sense, I think.
Yeah, I just fancy them on the transition. They'll get a few opportunities, and you know, say like being on penalties, they could lose the game 5-1 as long as he buries that penalty. Then happy days, you know. And what about my double Burnley defence? You highlighted all the Burnley stats. I mean, I don't have a great deal of it's either that or Tarkowski in that City game. Going back to Darren's point, I could play him and get those DEFCONs because he's definitely going to get them in that match. I just have to roll a dice with a double Burnley.
I think your point that Leeds have been pretty blunt going forward so far this season. It does feel like it's potentially got a 0-0 or a 1-1 kind of result written all over it. But yeah, again, it's a real toss up, isn't it? I think go with your gut, and I think if your gut says double Burnley, because again, it's the worst thing would be to go to put Steve on the bench for Tarkowski, then they do get the clean sheet, and you go, oh, for goodness sake.
That's it, yeah.
Especially when the likelihood of a Tarkowski clean sheet is unlikely. So you're then relying on the DEFCON contributions where, you know, Steve, you never know, even if he does concede, might get DEFCON as well. So
let's hope he doesn't score an own goal this week.
Exactly. So I think your logic makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just going to highlight a couple of comments here on the live stream. So Kiba mentioned that Manchester City have actually conceded the least amount of DEFCON points. So even if you were thinking that Tarkowski comes in because Man City are going to attack Everton a lot and then Tarkowski gets the DEFCON, City have actually given up the least or amongst the least amount of DEFCON. And to be fair, we make the point about how unstoppable Haaland is sometimes. You know, players can only receive DEFCON if they're able to stop him, and they haven't been able to do that so far. So it's a valid point.
Do you also think that sort of stat is linked to possession of the ball? That the teams that have possession don't give up as much DEFCON as teams without possession?
Well, yeah, for sure, because then the
attacking team's got the ball, then they haven't got to defend.
by its very nature, it's not being turned over. Possession's not being turned over, and defending teams not receiving or not getting the ball back.
I wonder if there's a table out there that some bright spark has put together that sort of shows the comparison, if it is an actual thing you can look at.
You kind of want to look at like the teams that have given up the least amount of DEFCON versus their average amount of possession every game,
Yeah.
and see if there's a comparison there.
Yeah.
Just one other comment as well, from Anurag Mishra, suggesting that Njai plays on the left and maybe Dibbling comes in on the right.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah. Dibbling for sure.
That's
good
one
shout.
player I didn't even think of. Yeah, the new signing, of course.
Yeah.
That's a good call.
And I got the pleasure of watching Tyler Dibbling play live last season, Brighton versus Southampton, and he was by far one of the best players on the pitch.
Well, he was their shining light all season, wasn't he? At Southampton?
As a young talent, brilliant player.
Good shout.
All right, cool. Thanks, Scott, for taking us through your team. Paul, I think you're up next.
Yes.
So Pope in goal, Gabriel, Van der Ven, Senesi, and Musiala at the back. Saka, Reinders, Semenyo across the middle. Gyökeres, Pedro, and Haaland as your captain. Petrovic, Stach, Njai, and Tarkowski on your bench. Although you've highlighted that Njai is probably going to get transferred out for Enzo Fernandez this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm contemplating. Obviously, I'm waiting on the fitness update on Enzo from international duty, because he went off. Oh, he didn't play the second game due to an apparent knock. I think he'll be fine. So I think that's potentially what I'm going with. But obviously, the headache I then have is if I bring Enzo in, I'm going to want to play him. I did obviously contemplate bench boost for this week, but I'm thinking game week 9 is probably the better of the weeks based on the fixtures. So again, I probably have a similar dilemma to you, Scott, where I will be probably looking at the likes of Reinders realistically, if I were to bring in Enzo and I were not to bench boost, would be probably what I will look at as a final starting 11, because I'm quite happy from a defensive perspective. Although I could maybe potentially drop Van der Ven and go for
I was just thinking that,
3-4-3.
Yeah.
Because obviously Villa at home is not the easiest of fixtures from a defensive perspective, so I wouldn't be too bothered with that either. And then monitoring obviously Reinders' form and Gyökeres' form, but again, I'm holding out for the nice fixtures, upcoming fixtures. I'm going to monitor them for probably the next couple of weeks. Again, Gyökeres I probably hold till the Burnley and Sunderland games are done and dusted, and see how I get on. And then, obviously I'm planning to move off the likes of Van der Ven and Tarkowski, because Spurs and Everton's fixtures get a bit tougher from game week 10 onwards. And then I'll probably likely look at the likes of Liverpool defenders as well as Palace after that. Yeah. So that's my current plan.
Yeah, I think it's a good long-term plan as well, particularly with those talking about those moves around game week 10 and 11, because Gabriel, you can switch down to anybody. Van der Ven, Senesi can switch down to almost anybody as well on that back line. So if you wanted to bring in someone like a Virgil, you can do it. The Enzo knock kind of fitness issue, I think, did we say like pre-stream, it was always the plan for him not to play the second game?
Yeah, that's what we've been told. It looks like it's more of a precautionary thing, more than anything. But again, Maresco's usually pretty transparent, so I will probably wait to the press conference on Friday before I make the decision.
Yeah, no, cool. Scott, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, the main instant thought was the back four with Van der Ven in. Playing Musiala against Wolves makes sense, using for that fixture. If there's one fixture you're going to use your Sunderland defenders, I guess it's against Wolves. And of course, Spurs playing Villa, with me removing Watkins from the team. This is the week that Watkins bags a hat-trick, isn't it? So, I had similar thoughts. So I got Porro in my defence. And I have contemplated playing Tarkowski over him for the assurances of those DEFCONs. So, if I had to make any change, I would bring in your Enzo pick for Van der Ven and play Enzo and Reinders.
Yeah, And I just realised I've made some errors by not updating the fixtures on Petrovic and Stack. Obviously, Stack's got Burnley, and Petrovic has Crystal Palace.
You're sacked as a graphic guy, mate. You're sacked.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I was doing them really late last night. So
Yeah.
If there are any willing volunteers watching right now that wants to do some graphic design work for free, do hit us up. Give old Paolo a rest. All right, cheers for that, pal. And good luck for game week 8. There's some solid choices in there, and I like the long term planning as well. Let's have a look at.
We'll just skip over this bit.
Absolute car crash, as it regularly gets called. But we all landed green arrows this week, which was nice.
Yeah. And you're up to 4 mil now, Darren.
Way.
Moving in the right direction, Darren.
Moving in the right direction. I'm in that. I'm in amongst those players that are still kind of playing, but also still like
you're in the top 33%, mate.
I'll take it.
Well, it's the first season that the FPL have hit over 12 million players. So to be 4 mil at this point, I mean, not brilliant, but certainly not bad either.
I'll take it. I'm aiming for 6 figures. Let's see if we can get like 999,000, but by the end of the year. Vicario, Lacroix, Van der Ven, Lacroix. Fucking hell. Van Dijk is my back three. Bruno G, Lefay, Eze, and Paqueta is my middle 4. And then I've got Captain Haaland, Isak, and Gyökeres up top with Dubravka, Grealish, De Kuyper, and Tosin on the bench. I've kind of bucked the trend a little bit. I'm going very very heavy artillery up top. I'm hoping, looking at those fixtures, Haaland versus Everton, Isak versus United, Gyökeres versus Fulham. There's more than a couple of returns amongst those 3. Obviously, doubling up with Eze and Gyökeres, hoping that Eze is the man that puts it on the plate for Victor. I felt like Grealish could have played against City. We spoke a little bit about the DEFCONs, and there's always that kind of player returning to former clubs and stuff. And then I realised, of course, that he's actually on loan to Everton and can't play against City. So that immediately made my mind up of like, he's going to sit on my bench for this week. And so that brings Paqueta off my bench against Brentford, again hoping that Nuno can get something out of that team.
But that's a good fixture, I think, for West Ham. Brentford are quite leaky at the back. Home game Monday night under the lights. West Ham fans are going to be well up for it. I think it's a good fixture for West Ham.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so as well. And again, you'll chat about Bowen. Maybe Paqueta is the man that puts it on the plate for him, and or scores another screamer. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I recognise that I'm very differential across the middle. Bruno G and Enzo Lefay specifically. You could probably put Paqueta in that group as well. Lefay. It looks like an almost guaranteed starter now at Sunderland. He started the last 2 games. Lots of chat on like the fan forums. Sunderland fans love him. They love him as a player and what he offers that Sunderland midfield, and seemingly on penalties whenever he's on the pitch as well. So feels like a good solid pick to have and experiment with.
So one thing I'll pick out there, you got double Spurs defence.
Yes.
Vicario and Van der Ven, and Dubravka on the bench. Tempted to bring Dubravka in, just so you lessen that Ollie Watkins hat trick?
Yeah, potentially. I think I mentioned earlier in the stream that I was very close to actually bringing Dominic Calvert-Lewin in, which I think potentially has put weight on my decision to keep Dubravka on my bench. I do feel like there is a Leeds goal coming. Saying that to someone with a double Burnley defence. Sorry, mate.
But who did you bring DCL in for? Because surely you bring him in to free up some money.
I think
invest in that midfield.
Yeah. Well, yes, but whether or not I would do that all in one go, I think personally, I'm losing a little bit of patience with Gyökeres. So trade down to DCL. This was the thought anyway. I don't think I'm going to do
your man Voltemada. What's wrong with you? You're waxing lyrical about him, and then you're going
picked him up for 4 weeks straight and not brought him in
right into the other end of the budget.
I'm waiting for the fixtures, mate. I'm waiting for the fixtures.
He's even going to grow the old Voltemada tash.
Yeah. I was thinking of downgrading Gyökeres to DCL. I don't think it's going to happen. Because the money then is just going to be sat in my bank for this week anyway. So I might just roll the transfer.
If you've got a plan for the cash, Darren. There's no point doing a drastic change like that unless you've got a plan to move the money somewhere else. If you haven't, then
exactly. So I'm going to roll the transfer.
So you know what you're doing.
Know what I'm doing, yeah. Yeah,
roll the
transfer.
Darren, is your injured defender.
Yes.
Listen, do you have any budget available left in the bank?
Yeah, I think I probably do actually. I don't have it to hand, but I'm looking at my. You only have to look at my midfield to know that I probably have budget available, right?
Yeah, we'll be interested to know how much you've got, because I would be inclined to transfer Tosin out with one of your free transfers.
Yeah,
and look at Arsenal and Newcastle defenders.
Yeah, I think from memory, I think it's like 0.4 or 0.5 in the bank. I don't think it's.
Well, if you've got 0.5, I would move to a Newcastle defender, get someone like Malik Thiaw.
Yep.
Who's started the last 3 games and got DEFCON twice.
Nice shout. Thank you.
So how long do you know how long Share's out for though, Paul? If you're looking at that move, because he's obviously in to replace Share in that back line.
I don't. No, that's a good question. I do
See,
not.
The way I would go if I was doing Darren's, I would downgrade Van Dijk, because I think he offers pretty poor value at 6.1, and I would get in Chalobah.
Interesting shout.
Because the Chelsea fixtures are lovely, and it puts a bit of money in your bank as well.
The irony is Fabian Scher's not even flagged on the FPL
site. He's just lost his place, hasn't he?
So in that case, I'd be fairly confident in Thiaw, because he started the last 3 games, and again, I've heard lots of things being waxed lyrical about him from a defensive point of view.
No, he looks good. Yeah, he's looked good when I've seen him.
So again, if you've got that 0.5, Tosin's 4.4, you've got the budget there, and then that way you can probably rest. You can probably put Van der Ven on your bench, and have a fairly strong defense.
Yeah, because I think from
without having to risk that clean sheet for Spurs.
Yeah, you're right, and I think from a DEFCON's perspective, I think Vicario is more likely to pick up save points than a defender is to pick up the 10 contributions that they need. So, okay, thanks for the advice. I'll take it on board. It feels like a logical switch. So
I'll take it on board, and I'll get in DCL.
Yeah. Van der Ven has about six DEFCON points roughly on average per game. So he's not hit it once.
Yeah.
So far this season. So I don't. He's obviously not a reliable source. So it's probably clean sheet or bust, because again he does for him. So that's why I think.
We're definitely,
especially if you've got like Tosin's proper injured as well.
He's proper injured, is he? Not just a little bit injured. I think we're discovering right now why I'm 4 million in the global rank. But I appreciate the advice. So I think, Tosin is getting tossed, I think. Malik Thiaw will almost certainly be part of the bench, I think, going into game week 8.
Do your own research, by all means.
Oh no, I don't check facts.
We don't want another Xhaka on our hands when we get blamed.
It's fine. It's fine. Bruno paid it back, and I stitched Scott up in the same week as well, so it's all good.
You stitched me up to the tune of 10 points that week.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Right. I think we'll call it there for this week. Boys, I really appreciate you joining me and having this chat. Always look forward to it. If you've been watching on the live stream and getting engaged in the live chat as well, really appreciate that. Do leave a like on the video, share it on your personal socials, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps the channel grow. And obviously, yeah, we'd love to be able to do bigger things with this in the future. But yeah, we can't do that without your support. So really appreciate it if you could do that for us. Until next week, good luck for game week 8, everybody. And we will see you on the other side. See you later.
See ya.
Goodbye.